Muy buenas a todos. Ay, que me tripo. Bienvenidos a Skullbox. Bienvenidos a este nuevo directo de Autopsy Simulator. Vamos a jugar con este juego a ver qué tal se nos da. Por supuesto, antes que nada, quiero recordaros visitar mi página web www.skullbox.es. En ella encontraréis descuentos en suscripciones, juegos, merchandising y todo lo que queráis en el canal. Por supuesto, joder, ya estamos con que no se oye. De verdad, esto es una amargura. De verdad, nunca os aconsejaré, si podéis, compraros una consola que funciona siempre. Los ordenadores... Ay, de verdad. ¿Por qué me lo cambia? Es que no acabo de entender por qué siempre me lo está cambiando. Ya está. Bueno, lo dicho. Por supuesto, suscribiros al canal si no lo estáis y un segundito. Seguidme en mis plataformas, suscribiros a YouTube, que es gratuito, darle a me gusta, compartir con los amigos. Por supuesto, ya os si queréis apoyar al canal, desde muy poquito tenéis el plan miembros del canal, que podéis dar vuestro apoyo desde apenas €1, $1 al mes. Y por supuesto en Twitch es gratuito con vuestra suscripción a Twitch Prime. Así que sin más, vamos a empezar con este juego. Autopsy Simulator. Lo siento, en YouTube no se llama Autopsy Simulator porque mira, porque no aparece aún.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Beatsville. Dr. Jack Hammond is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious. For the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time? Wednesday. It's not my favorite day, although it's certainly better than Monday. I guess it was in another life.
Yo pensaba que era simplemente...
Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine.
El perro vago,
It won't be needed for the next few months. Stephen didn't clean up after himself again. They definitely pay me too little for this. They definitely pay me too little for this. Another kidnapping this month. work with corpses, but I don't have to smell like one.
Ojo, qué tirón.
But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow. Okay, time to pull myself together. And get back to work.
Ay mía, esto está hecho una puta mierda.
I need to set up the camera first.
Oh, pues mira. Estoy de obras.
Let's hope I'm not caught short this evening. This place is starting to look like a hoarder's dream, rather than a storage room.
Vale, ahí está la cámara.
Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time. I don't see any need to mess with the electrics. They are flaky enough as it is.
Esto está hecho una puta mierda.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Pero ¿por qué me haces horas? A ver. Aquí lo queremos todo. Son efectos sombreados de la nueva película. No. A ver qué coño es esto. Dispersión superficial. Así mejor. VHS, ¿sabes o qué?
I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m.
91.
Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, this will refresh your basic knowledge. In turn, for those whose knowledge is only theoretical, I advise not to watch this after a meal.
Pues a esta piedra.
Let's start. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something like I do all the time. In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we? The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years. The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows. The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man. He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket. That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves.
A ver, ¿dónde puedes tener este hombre? Porque aquí no está.
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. It's in here somewhere. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere.
Una Polaroid.
As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
What? Estoy.
The boiler healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look later.
Estoy viendo, coño.
Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small. That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain.
Están congelados las manos.
Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite? In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data. Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything.
A ver, se acabó la autopsia.
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. Personal information. The deceased was unclothed. Date. Okay. As you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass. Which spot first? It looks like a burn mark. No doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color.
Okay.
I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen. Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes. First, I mark the location of the injuries and make notes for each one. So, we're not in frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite. Even though this type of wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death, we're still required to record it. The head wound. Definitely an important clue. This is something we'll investigate first. If Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety of the internal organs is more important than fingers, nose, or ears. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. This is of no interest to us. Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list. We still have one thing left from the basics: rigor mortis. Well, we take our deceased by the hand. Gradually we raise it. Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct. Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw. The cut is made from ear to ear. After which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull. After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good. Let's take a cross-section. Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now. Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us.
Ah, no me tengo que salir. Ah, me falta recorrido, chato.
So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain. We can rule the fatal accident out as well. Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit. The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall. All right, now we peel back and separate the skin. Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this. Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice two things. Firstly, there is we can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation. What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to... Specifically 3. From the eye, the heart, and from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Five milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it. This whole thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime. Let's get back to the examination. We put all of the samples into the rotor. Now, we set the appropriate time and speed. Okay, let's roll. Oh shit, the fuses again. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy.
Realiza las pruebas de tóxicos para detectar posible presencia de alcohol. Que se me ha ido el juego.
A considerable collection.
Una aspiradora. ¿Cómo hostia con la presión esta de alcohol?
Poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other. Where were we? Oh yes, the blood alcohol concentration. Let's see what we've got here. Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all. Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death. Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. Size is normal, healthy, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside.
Vale, ya está aquí.
We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out. We open the stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside. Okay, Large amount of gas, small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents. There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck. At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray. While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision.
Y hagamos restos.
To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen. And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing. Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then, the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Coño, si ya lo estoy diciendo, mira. Vamos a ver, no me toquen los cojones. Mar, pero ¿dónde le tengo que dar? Uy, joder, pero vamos a ver. En la principal no puedo hacer nada. Ah, vale.
And now it's all clear. The death was suffocation. Now, signature. The mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end. First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up. For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps. And then, we sew the deceased back up. I'm using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do. Beautiful. Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey. God, I'm tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar. Uncle Stephen, I don't feel like drinking alone today.
Bueno.
Forgive me. What? Christ. What a dream. Fuck. Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work. It's been almost a year. I wasn't able to support her through this. Till death do us part. It was a miracle that the coffee didn't wash off the writing. And that she said yes. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck. It's always good to have something for a rainy day. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck.
Un puto desastre.
So much light everywhere. I'm not in the mood for music lately. I'm not in the mood for music lately. They certainly have more will to live than I do. A pill a day keeps the defective jack away. It's a shame this won't help with my hangover. It's just too dirty to use. frickin' phone. Okay. I know I'm late. I'll be there soon. It's not like the dead are impatient.
Jack, no.
Alice? Who is this?
It's Charlotte Graves.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you. I thought it was work calling.
It's okay. I hate it when work calls me at home, too. How is everything? We haven't talked since... you know.
Well, there are good days, and there are bad days. What can I say? At least I can hide away at work.
Well, you always were the most comfortable in the dissecting room. Listen, I have an unusual request.
Okay, how can I help?
It's nothing serious. I just wanted to ask. Do you have any pictures of Alice? Maybe one where the two of us are together? I'd love to have something to remind me of her.
I guess. I'm not sure. I'll look through her things.
Thank you. I'm sorry to trouble you in this. Well, this can't be easy for you.
I'll get through it somehow. I've been meaning to sort through her stuff for a while. Have you asked Stephen if he has anything?
Yes, I spoke with him this morning. He said he gave everything to their mother and that I should ask you.
I see.
Jack, I know you're trying. That you cope somehow. Stephen's there for you. Although, well, we all know how he can be. But, I mean, if you want him to reminisce about Alice, talk.
I really should go now.
Lamento que en YouTube no os ponga el título correcto. No me deja cambiarlo. No existe para YouTube este juego aún.
Sure. Sorry to keep you.
I'll look for something and send it over. Thanks for the call, and bye.
Oh, do you have my address?
Not on hand. You'd best remind me again.
292 Browning Lane, apartment 432, Johnson City, New York, 13790.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. It would mean a lot to me. Just miss her so much.
Yeah, me too. And that's okay. Really, no problem.
Thank you. Take care, Jack.
You too, Charlotte. It was nice to hear you. Well, that was a bit unexpected. I should probably find something to send.
Okay.
I really need to get this laundry done. Alice and Charlotte in Amsterdam. It's hard to believe they've known each other for so long. It would be better if Charlotte had this. It deserves to be on display and not hidden in a drawer.
A ver, un sobre. ¿Dónde va un sobre? Chato, eres un desastre.
They certainly have more will to live than I do. Okay, time to go to work. I'm seriously late. Some days... I should grab some coffee and aspirin on the way.
Está hecho una mierda.
Oh shit. Almost left the door open. These fluorescent tubes are brutal.
Eso está feito una merda. Todo está hecho una mierda. Oh, ahí está Heisenberg. Heisenberg. ¿Tu zona está dentro en vez de la calle? Qué raro.
I hope this helps, Charlotte. Okay. All done here. Time to go. Huh? Damn. I forgot my jacket. Well. I'll brave it for tonight. Too bad. Nice and fresh. At least it's peaceful here.
Es que está todo lleno de mierda. Acojonante. Ah, mierda de morgue. Y GT. Voy a pensar que el juego era otra cosa, que era simplemente hacer autopsias. No que tenía una historia.
Good evening, Mr. Ridley.
The timesheet Hammond.
Some corpses have more personality than this guy. Christ. Who leaves the window open in the middle of November? So I'd better check the answering machine.
Hi, Jack. I dropped by a little early today. I left the body with Ridley in the corridor. He wasn't sitting in the locker then, so maybe he'll even throw him into the room. Well, how are you doing? I mean, it's your first birthday without her, and... This, I still have a hangover, and you know me, I run to the John like the neighbor's fucking dog.
Fíjate que yo pensaba que era otra cosa este juego.
You know, today I slipped on his shit again. That fucking furball. He always has to shit next to my car. Anyway, I can't come over in the evening, but we'll catch up on the weekend, okay? Bye. I almost forgot. Charlotte called me this morning. She asked about you, so answer your calls, Jack. This time it's not a reprimand for being late.
That's par for the course. I wonder when this clown will learn to look under his feet. Birthday. I actually forgot it was today. Alice make me muffins like these every birthday. A treat for later. I always crave something sweet after a section. Okay, joke's over. Apron, gloves, and get to work. What? Still no mold? What kind of cheap and nasty coffee is this? It's actually my birthday, or they must have marked them down.
Vale.
Oh, man. I remember you. You were on that talent show. What was your name again?
Está feta mierda las chiquetas,
I need to order another batch of these. I've got to remember to do that later. And that's the whole point.
Bueno, vamos a hacer una cosa, ¿ves? Antes de empezar la autopsia, vamos a hacerlo en el siguiente capítulo, ¿vale? Voy a finalizar aquí. Así que espero que os haya gustado, por supuesto. Antes que nada, quiero recordar visitar mi página web, suscribiros que es gratuito, y darle a la campanita si os notifica al siguiente directo. Así que un saludo y hasta pronto.